going to add a title to this. The title is sort of self-explanatory of what we're going to do. We're going to solve this by square rooting, because square rooting is the opposite of squaring. So if you square root a side and there's a squared, it would go away because they're opposites of each other. Now, solving by square rooting only works if the thing you're solving for, in this case x, is being squared. So for example, that x is getting squared there, and there's no other x's in the equation. This is important, because if there's x's in the equation and you square root those x's, you still have problems with square roots. In the second one, there's my squared item. My x is inside of that as well. And just like solving in square root equations, in square root equations you isolated the square root, then squared. Does it make sense that in squared equations you would isolate the square and square root? So we need to get what's in the green box all by itself. And in A, well, that means I have some like terms. You see that you could add the 7 to both sides and get 3x squared equals 15. Then we could divide both sides by 3 and get that x squared by itself. Maybe you want to add this note for yourself, that when you do square root both sides, because a number squared could be positive or negative to equal something, when you square root both sides, we have to add the plus or minus. So our answer is plus or minus the square root of 5. Then in B, what's being squared is already by itself. So if I square root both sides, this side will just be x plus 3, and this side will be plus or minus the square root of 20. Now to get x by itself, we would have to subtract the 3 to the other side. And if you can reduce your square root, you must. You'll notice in the answer at the bottom of the page, they left it as square root of 20. That's because some teachers might decide to teach chapter 3 before chapter 2. We're doing our chapters in order this year. Next year in grade 12 pre-calculus, I think my order goes 3, 6, 1, 2, 5, 8, 4. So that's not the same order as the book. So it could be that some teachers taught it in different order, but since we've already learned square roots, you have to reduce the square root of 20 to lowest terms and write it as 2 root 5. So you can circle question 4,